Okay guys, we're back today. Y'all have any questions about what we've gone over? I know that y'all have been real good about doing all the lessons, right?
Wait.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah. Did y'all practice the stuff at least?
yes. Yes, I frequently.
And y'all don't have any questions about anything that we've gone over?
Eventually, can you go over the stacking thing again?
Yeah.
Because I had that.
So everything that we're going over now is going to get heightened in several weeks, because we're almost done with like the introductory, and then then it goes into like really going into each lesson. Does that make sense? I mean, it gets a little more heightened, and then that's when we start bringing our machines, start doing stuff with our machines. Okay, but no questions up to now with the hyper keys, speakers. None of that stuff?
You say speakers? As in like speakers or speakers?
No, speakers.
Oh,
Were you not here for speakers?
no, I thought you were talking like actual
No. Speakers. Like individual speakers. Court,
People.
attorneys, people,
Yeah.
personas.
With our machine, right?
Yeah, we're going to go over it again.
That's probably what we're doing.
Yeah.
I don't.
The hyper keys you're going to need to get anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's easier for me to do than.
Yeah. What y'all got? What's the problem?
Everything. I was just asking her where one was and he said.
Oh, okay.
No.
We needed to do that on camera?
Can we stop it?
You go here.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, guys, and I know I say it every week. This week is important. Yeah. Numbers is important. Numbers is. Okay?
Numbers is or
Numbers
numbers
is
are?
or numbers are? Yeah.
And a little less of the rolling of the eyes would be awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
I'm going to call you the boy that cried wolf.
Just 1 week.
Guys, focus.
Just 1 week. I want y'all to say absolutely nothing. Okay.
That we're not here.
Yeah, that too. Okay, so you have automatic number conversions in this, and guys, it'll do everything for you. This Auto Magic will do everything for you, and it's going to show you that. But it's all going to depend on how you write. Okay? So is there anyone here that does not use the number bar? Everybody uses the number bar? Good. That's good. Really good. Because sometimes you're going to need words and sometimes you're going to need numbers. Okay? And it's going to show you how to do that. This thing will automatically do it for you if you do it correctly. Okay? So if you have somebody else's dictionary, yeah, you may need to go through there and clean some stuff up if stuff isn't coming up, because it's all going to depend on what's in your dictionary too. Okay? So numbers overview.
With Eclipse, 2 basic steps will give you excellent number translation. Fine-tune your dictionary and fine-tune your number settings. Pure number bar strokes aren't even necessary in your dictionary. Other numbers building blocks will be defined as words, not digits. 100, 1,000, million describe orders of magnitude. Write the word dollars when you hear it, not before, and it, like other money words, will trigger number conversion with the appropriate currency symbol. If a number doesn't translate right, it's probably because of an old dictionary entry.
Do you hear what it just said? So if it doesn't translate correctly, it's because it's something in your dictionary that's messed up. Okay? And you're just going to need to go in there and probably delete it. Okay? So if you do this thing right, everything should come out right. Okay?
Move such entries and your building blocks will work properly. A separate presentation deals with finding and moving entries in and out of your dictionary. Occasionally, you'll want to convert numbers after translation. Mark the number first, then click on the toolbar icon or use the menu or the speed key.
You might want to write this down. Control Shift 3. Control Shift 3 is your number conversion. Okay? I think you can also do it in the Alt U. If you go to Alt U, I think it'll bring up the same thing and go into numbers, and it should give you that same numbers conversion.
Control and the pound key together. Here you see your number as it starts out, and as it will look depending on which format you choose.
See, so you can choose any format that you want. So all you do is write the number 36,508.3. Okay? Write it the way you're supposed to. Okay? I don't do that. Okay? And for those of you that do, pay attention, because in this thing they're going to tell you what to do. There's a certain little button that you push in your user settings that does it for you. It takes the and out. You know, I don't hear the and. I don't. But everyone's a little different. Way different. Not just when it comes to numbers. But you can pick anything. You can pick quantity, money, ordinal. See how it changed it to the ordinal? Does everyone see that? How it put the TH on the end and made it an ordinal? So all you have to do is come into this number conversion. I mean, it can be a telephone number. Something as simple as a telephone number, and all you wrote was 210-663-3610. And it's just all these numbers put together. Well, there's a way of doing it in here that it knows that if there's 10 numbers, that it should be a telephone number. Okay? But let's just say you didn't have it. You know what? And you need to convert it real quick. That's how you do it. Come in here, push phone, automatically puts it in there, bam. But over here in the Auto Magic, it's usually gonna do it for you. It's crazy how ahead of you this thing is. Okay, it's always thinking ahead.
However, your numbers settings will control, and so the gear icon takes you quickly to adjust those settings. Within these short presentations, it's not possible to show all that Eclipse automatic number conversion can do. So a separate in-depth ePower video tutorial is available on automatic number conversion.
Okay, any questions? Good. Okay, number settings.
Here are two quick examples of how to fine-tune your numbers settings. The numbers section of your user settings asks two general questions. First, how do you write numbers? So what do you even...
Guys, I'm sure you're paying attention, but pay attention right here, because this is going to explain to you if you write numbers and if you use the number bar. So if you write out the words or if you do the number bar, this is going to tell you, and process and as a number is going to explain to you also. Okay? So pay attention. Let me back it up just a bit.
Settings asks two general questions. First, how do you write numbers? So what do you even want number conversion to process? And second, what kinds of numbers do you want in words as opposed to digits? This first writer doesn't use the number bar and wrote the word "and" when it was heard. So ignore written numbers is not turned on.
Did you get that? Not turned on. So if you write out your numbers, all of them, like 1,000, 300, yeah, if you do it that way, but if you do it that way, this is how you do it, okay? So if you don't use the number bar, it needs to stay unchecked. Got that?
But process "and" as part of a number is turned on.
So it's probably going to take you a little bit of time. Some of you may not even know whether you write "and" with it or not. Do you all know? Does anybody write "and"? If they say $403, how are you going to write that?
0.3. .03.
No, you just do 400.
3 cents. Oh,
No,
No?
like $403. So not any cents or whatever, and they say $403. Well, some people hear the and write the and. Yeah,
And if you write like you're writing like 4, thou, W-H-O-U,
Yeah.
3, then that first little thing with more written numbers stays unchecked.
if you write the numbers,
Just like you say, like 400.
if you do the number bar, it needs to be checked. It needs to be checked. Okay? So everybody uses the number bar? Does anyone not?
does that include like mixed? 'Cause like if you, like you said 4 and then hun for 100. Does that?
No, that's different. That's
Okay.
different. It's just the numbers. Just the numbers. Does anyone write the numbers out all the time? Because you're going to write numbers when it needs to be words sometimes too. Okay? No one? Okay. Go into your user settings, which is what?
Oh, you.
Alt U. Go into Alt U. Go into numbers.
I'm here already.
Hey, lady, take it easy. Quit yelling.
Look at me like.
Yeah. First day here, I already went to run the class.
No.
In the numbers, make sure that's checked. Is it checked?
No.
No.
Check it. Ignore written numbers, check it. Put a check in there. And if you don't know whether you write and or not, probably just check it. I don't think it hurts it, but it's only going to help you if you write and.
And how about the other two, David? Forced measurements and forced separation. Because both
I
of mine
wouldn't
are.
worry about, is it already checked?
Mhm.
If it's already checked, just leave it checked. Is it checked?
Yes.
Okay, just leave it checked. Okay, good?
For general quantity numbers, this user has Eclipse write out 1 through 10, which puts 11 and above in digits. For currency, do not write out any numbers, just use digits. And for ordinals, write out 1st through 10th. There are different settings for what to write out at the start of a sentence. And as of 1 billion, Eclipse will use words to make large round numbers easier to read. This number bar user uses word strokes to indicate when a number from 1 to 10 should not be in digits. So ignore written numbers is turned on, and Eclipse is not being asked to write out any values.
So that's really what you should have, is that thing checked, ignore written numbers, and then come down here to write out, click this little thing down, and then put no values. Is everyone with me?
Right now,
Put none?
sorry?
Put
None.
none?
Yeah. Some are different. Some have none and some have no value or, I don't know.
Okay, no value.
Huh?
What is glue numbers mean that's already checked? Oh,
them
puts
together.
them together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions about this? You sure?
what about at start, the arrangement at start?
Don't worry about that right now. Because there's only a few times that you're going to use a number at the beginning of a sentence. Okay? Proper English, you don't really start it with a number. Okay? So if they say, well, how many kids were there? How many kids were there? 1. And you wrote out the number 1. That's not right. 1, that's not right, but that's not right. Okay? So you shouldn't start a sentence with a number. The only time you should is like on a date. When were you born? 1961. Okay. That one you should. Not 1961 B, C, or no, okay, just 19, you know, so there's certain times that you should. Money is the same way. You know, so if they ask you, well, how much was it? It was $32. Okay, then, you know, then I would. Okay, that makes sense?
Clicks is not being asked to write out any values. Number conversion is treated at length in the efficient editing tutorial, so be sure to look at it.
Be sure to look at that.
Can you get out of here?
Did we get out of here or did we hit okay?
Yeah, you can get out. You should be okay. So hit OK.
So that, you wanted us to change it if it was 1 to 10 to none.
Yeah, on the, what was it?
Volume.
Quantity,
Right out.
write
Yeah,
out.
but what was the,
Right out numbers.
All you and under numbers.
at the write out. So at the write out should be no values or none. Okay?
So like if you're going on in a sentence, you'd write the word 10 in the middle of a sentence, like TEN, instead of going up. That's what isn't that what it's doing? Or
It's knowing. Because if you leave that on, if you don't have that thing checked, ignore written numbers, and you have that thing 1 to 10, then it's going to write 1, 0.
okay.
Okay? So that's why you need to have no values, because if you write TEN, then it's going to write TEN. It's not going to change it
To the number 10.
1, 0.
And that's why it's okay.
That's why. Because
Okay.
there's certain times that you need to have 10 TEN, not 1, 0. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes. Just like on one, you know, like you could say one day
Yeah.
I spent too much money, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, so
Just one.
one can be a numeral and one can be
Yeah. Or it can be a number. That's not a number.
no.
Yeah.
That's indicating
No.
one day.
Yeah. Right, lady. Okay, so, I mean, they ask you, you know, the one thing is going to be like time, you know, and people do it different. I mean, and I was always taught that, you know, you never do it like this. Because when you do the 9:00, that already means a clock. So now you're saying 9 o'clock, I'll dine. The way that I was taught, I'm not sure that it's necessarily right, but I still do it. One, you already have a word, so I use a word. What time are you going? 9 o'clock, N-I-N-E, o'clock. Okay? Whether you do it that way, I don't really care. Whether they're going to take off at the state test, if you do it like that, I don't know. I have no idea. So I'd be on the safe side, and, you know, I'm almost certain they're not going to take off for N-I-N-E, o'clock. Now, whether they take off for that, they may. I don't know. Have no idea. So you might want to ask that in the
What's
English
bad
class.
is that the key, KLN, you know, whenever you
Colon.
spin OK, yeah, that it's, and then it puts it in there as a colon. Let's say 8, you know.
Well, see, I'm
if
gonna
you
teach.
write
I'm gonna
it
teach you.
8,
Wait, whoa, whoa. I'm gonna teach you a way that you don't have to put the colon.
that's awesome.
So I'm gonna teach you a way to do, like, if you want to do 9, and you want it to come out like that, all you do is 9 and push time. Hit time with the asterisk. Asterisk.
Cool.
And it's going to automatically convert it. Okay? You can do all of
So you write out the word 9 asterisk.
No. Hit 9. The number
Oh,
9.
the number 9.
9 time. That's it. See, back in the day, we had to do all of that.
Yeah,
No
I know.
shenanigans. 9
With
KLN 00. Trust me, it's come a long way, and a lot easier. So now it's all about working smarter, not harder. Okay? Don't work harder. All right? So which one of these would y'all use? At 9, I'll dine.
And so we had to use the third one.
Probably the last one.
The first one.
No, the second. No.
How many say the first one?
Yeah.
How many say the second?
But then it doesn't indicate whether it's AM or PM.
Well, if they don't
That's
say
the
it, then you wouldn't
first.
put it, right?
But it's
That's the
dinner.
second.
Oh, the first one. Yeah.
How about the third?
Oh, no, I thought third, yeah, third one is.
Anyone say the third? How about the fourth?
It could be the third.
It depends on if they say o'clock,
Is
right?
everybody awake? I've only had 3 people raise their hand. There's 16 people in here. How many won? Say number 1.
Depends on how you say it.
Hmm?
Because if they don't say o'clock, you wouldn't put o'clock, right? If you're writing exactly what they say? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So you,
Yeah. So it's
So they're saying at 9, I'll dine.
then I'd do the first one.
That's what they're saying. At 9, I'll dine. How many say number 1?
one. Yeah.
How many say number 2? How many say number 3? How many say number 4?
I'll still say three just because.
How many are just don't know?
They're conferencing about it right now.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
Let me know when the caucus is over. What? How many don't know? I mean, that's okay.
You have to
Because it wasn't one of the.
when you
It
hear
wasn't a vacation. It said 11 or 11.
you write what you hear. So it's at
It's not 3 or
9
4.
I'll
How?
die.
You write what you hear. You write what you hear. You know it's time. They're talking about time. At 9, what time are you going to dine? I'll dine at 9.
But it's the second one.
Yeah.
It's the first one. It's actually the first one. Because time, they're talking about time. Okay? So you know they're talking about time. So it would be number 1. At 9, I'll dine. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Does everyone know why it's not this one?
Because it doesn't
Say
say
o'clock.
o'clock.
It didn't say o'clock for 1. And they didn't say o'clock for 2.
It's kind of redundant.
Yeah.
It's redundant.
You're already making an impact your first day.
Sorry.
Awesome.
Have a good Friday.
Okay, now they say here that at the beginning of a sentence, what number should be written out?
All of them?
They say that 1 through 100 is common. 1 through 100 is common
At the beginning of
at the beginning. So you write it out. Write it out, okay? How many of y'all were there? 33. So you write THIRTY hyphen THREE or whatever. It's in an English class.
I'm sure there's a brief for that.
Huh?
I'm sure there's a brief for that.
You just hit 3-3? Or
Well, and I'm gonna show you something because like I wouldn't write out 3.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, and I don't. Okay. All I do is 3. Okay. So it comes up 3. No big deal. When you're editing right here in your Auto Magic, it's gonna give you that. Did you mean, 33? Or did you mean 33? Or did you mean $33? Or did you mean, it's gonna give you all of these different things and it's gonna show you. It's actually pretty cool when it comes to numbers. It'll change it to ordinal, to Roman numeral, everything, okay? Okay, when should lots of zeros and commas be replaced by descriptive words? usually here on million. Okay? Sometimes thousand. Because you want to make it easy for the reader. So when they say, well, how many people do you think were there? Oh, 1 million. So you're going to write 1, comma, 0, 0, 0, comma, 0, 0, 0? No. 1 million. That's it. And it looks so much cleaner, looks so much nicer than that.
Right.
Does that make sense? Okay.
And half the time people have to count the zeros.
Yeah, they really do. Is that trillion or is that whatever? Yeah. A billion. Okay. Getting maximum benefit from Total Eclipse's automatic number conversion capabilities involves fine-tuning your dictionary. It really does, guys. So if things aren't coming out the way that you're writing them, 1, check your writing. But 2, if you know that it's correct, it's wrong in your dictionary. Okay? And it's real important to clean your dictionary up to make sure that it's coming out correct. Okay? When this is done, you will be able to write what you hear and let Eclipse interpret the numbers intelligently according to context. Okay? The amount of dictionary work will be advisable and will depend on your input method. Okay? So if something's not coming up, all you have to do is get on that number or get right where it is. And how do you get into dictionary?
F9.
F9 is dictionary. Or that. Okay, one thing that they're going to teach you here is that you have to write things a little bit differently. So like if they say 11.3, you're not going to just write point. You have to write it differently for it to know. Okay? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you write it with numbers, it's going to know. So, you know, if you read this sentence right here, I had to explain my point 11 times. It's not point 11 times. I had to explain my point, my thought, 11 times. Does that make sense? It's not point 11. Okay? So you have to write it differently, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay? People do it differently. However is easiest for you is fine. Okay? But I'm going to show you how to do that too. And this is how you do it. So as a steno reporter, I have point defined as point. That's it. That's all you write is point, okay? But I will drop the final T and have point. I do my point when it's like 9.3. My point is with the asterisk, okay? You can do point. You can do point with the asterisk. I really don't care what you do. You have to do it different though. You have to, okay? And it's going to be defined like this. Remember? So the bracket, decimal, bracket. And if you do it like that, it's going to know that it's supposed to be point. Does everyone get that? Does anyone not? Don't be scared to say you don't, because somebody else probably does too. Okay.
So if, in your case, when you use the asterisk, doesn't it also revert back and delete the previous error in the notes, or?
No, because I use it POINT with the asterisk. So I don't do point and then asterisk. If you do point and then asterisk, it's gonna delete it, okay? It has to be together. It's the stroke together. Everyone get that? Okay? And if you define it like this, it's gonna work. If you don't, and you define it like that, it's not gonna work.
So basically, all you have to do, it doesn't even have to be that. It just has to be something you were like, PNT could also work as long as you define it as decimal.
PNT, PONT,
It could be
PT,
anything.
P star T.
But when you
PPT,
global it,
I don't-
you'd have to write it with the as decimal, and then it would.
It all depends on how you define it. If you don't define it right and you just define it as you do point, if that's how you're gonna do it, as just decimal, like that, now it's just gonna come out decimal, the word decimal. And that's not right. If you put the brackets means command. It's commanding it to do something. And it knows what to do if you do it right. If you don't, you did it wrong. Okay? Got it? You sure? You have that. Okay, I was gonna say, you either have that confused or sleepy look. Glad it was B, sleepy. Okay. So everyone got the point as a decimal. How to define it?
That was punny.
It was. Everyone got the point? Of the point that I was trying to make?
Yes.
About the decimal? Okay, so when it comes to years, for both steno and voice, it would be a good idea to find a distinct way to write or dictate both of them different, okay? So when it refers to a year, this is the way that you need it, okay? It's not the year 2002, 000, right? Does everyone understand that?
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone that doesn't?
Let me ask this
They need
question.
that application for the mechanic school.
Whenever I was practicing over
Yep.
the last several weekends and stuff, I would, as part of our homework or test or whatever, whenever I would write the year, like for instance, 1999, it had 19:9, and then it would space 9.
Do you have your glue on?
Yeah, it was automatically checked. So I thought, well, maybe it's just, I'm not gonna mess with it. I'll ask, whenever I come back to class.
Say that one more time. When you wrote 1999, you wrote 1999, and
And
the
it
last
has it-
9.
And it was separate. So 19 and 9 were together, like it was 1999.
Like 199.
199
the
was
other 9
together,
was
and
by
then
itself?
Yeah.
Did it fix after like
No,
It
but
did.
because I didn't want to mess anything up, I thought, you know what, we'll just talk about it whenever.
Yeah. It should have, as long as your glue is on.
I'll make sure the glue is on.
Yeah.
But it was automatically checked a while ago, so.
Yeah. Because when you're using the number bar, it should always keep them together. Okay? It should keep the numbers together. If not, then you have something off. Probably that glue numbers is probably not checked. Does that make sense?
I'll make
But
sure.
even if you do, and let's just say you do it and it's like it's not working that day. If you get on that 199 and then the space 9, I guarantee you, over here in the Auto Magic, it's gonna have 1999. Okay? And it's gonna have 1,999. and it's going to have $1,999. It's going to give them all to you, all of them. It's usually pretty good about that. Okay. So going back to years and quantity, as a steno reporter, you have to have 2 strokes. So one of them needs to be like thous. Okay. So like when I write, like when they say 2,000, I write 2 thou, Thou. So my mil is mil, MIL. Mine is with an asterisk because the other one is MILL, like a
Run of the mill.
yeah, yeah. So it's MILL. Okay. So and it needs to be defined as this. So as the number bracket # means a number, and then the letter tells it what it needs to be, which is a generic number.
Okay.
So a generic is going to be, I think it's gonna write it like this. So generic is 2,000.
If you wanted to define it with a comma in it, then what would replace the G? You know, because that's a generic number. You want a quantity number, which would put, right?
Yes.
Which would put the comma in. So, I guess, do you know what I'm saying?
I do. To write the year, I just do it 2,000, and it comes up as 1,000. Okay? And that's all you have to define it as. That's all. You don't have to define the 2. The 2 is already defined because it's a number. So you never have to define numbers unless you use it in a same stroke. So like if you do 2,000 as 2Z in the same stroke, now you're going to have to define it with the number. But if you do 2 come back thous, you don't have to do anything with the number. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And they'll explain that a little bit further when we get to it, but that's how you do it. So all you have to do is just write thou and what it stands for. Okay, like this thous is going to be like this because it tells it to change it with a generic number. Okay, so the generic number is this, the 2,000.
Oh.
Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And it will. Okay, so now they're going to show you how to define things. Pay attention, guys. Really pay attention. So, to consider numbers and how they're defined, I really don't like the way that they did this because I think it gets a little confusing, but it's the way they do it. So they show the old way that they used to do it versus how you do it now. Okay? So, the old way that we used to have to do it when I first got out, 26 years ago, was like this. You had to write it as a conflict. So you go through and pick one. And it's like, for that stroke, W-U-N. Okay? Does everyone know why it's not W-O-N?
Yeah.
For one? Yeah. So don't write those the same. It shouldn't be the same. This is 1 for the number 1, okay? And you don't have to define it like this. All you do is define it like that. That's all you do. You don't have to do any brackets. You don't have to do any slashes. You don't have to do any of that. None of it. Because if you write the number 1 on the number bar, you don't have to define it. It's already defined. Does that make sense? So when you write W-N, that's all you have to do. O-N-E, that's it. No more, okay? So this will convert to digits according to your quantity rules. If ignore written numbers is switched off, okay? So it will remain a written number as long as you have this switched on. Okay? As long as it's switched on, it knows what to do. If it's not, then it's probably going to do it like that when you're writing it like that. And that's not what you want. Does that make sense to everyone? Good.
Sit outside. I'll repeat it outside.
You all right? Okay. So now, when they say, like back in the day, guys, it would, I'll get it. I got that. Back in the day, I mean, you almost had to anticipate money when they were saying money, because you used to have to hit it before. So like dollar, you know, some kind of dollar sign, and then write the number out. Now you just write it whenever they say it. That's it. That's all you have to do is write it. And if you define it correctly, that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. But be careful. And this is the way you do it, dollars. D-L-A-R-S. Dollars. So it doesn't even matter if they say, well, how did you get paid? I got paid in dollars. All you have to write is dollars. Well, how'd you get paid? Well, I got paid $800. $800. And it already knows. Put it. So you don't have to. No entry is needed for dollars. The steno for dollars should be written out when you hear it, when it is spoken, not before. We used to have to write it before. Crazy, yeah. Where you write it also indicates the decimal point position if needed. Okay? I do it a little bit different. So mine are a little bit different, you know. And I've changed my way a little bit, but I used to write like if it was $1, mine was 1D. So it was all in one stroke. So, you know, you have to define it a little bit different or whatever, instead of just doing $1 or dollars. And then it already knows what to do, okay? So, and that's what they're talking about right here, the DZ. So if you hit the DZ for dollars, back then you had to do it as a 3, as a conflict. I don't really like it as a conflict, you know, because if you write the DZ, I mean, and it just depends on how clean your writing is, whether you needed to put it as a conflict. Does that make sense? Because if your writing is pretty clean, then it's not going to matter. Your DZ is only going to be dollars. That's all it needs to be, is be defined as dollars. Okay? Does that make sense? Does anyone not get that?
So you put the number, you hit DZ, and it's going to throw the dollar sign in the front. That's what you're,
Yeah,
is that
it
what you're
should.
saying?
So
Okay.
if you define it as dollars, it should.
Okay.
It should do that. Does everyone get that?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. So this is the way that I had to do it. You know? So you have to be real careful about how you do it, because then you're going to have a bunch of entries in your dictionary if this is the way you do it. Okay? So if you do $5 and I did it 5D, then I have to do it like this. $5. I don't do it with the money symbol. You don't have to do it with the money symbol. All you have to do is write dollars, and it knows what to do. Make sense?
You hit them both at the same time, though. Is that when it would do that?
That's
Okay.
what it's saying. When it has a little hyphen like that, that's what it's talking about. It's one stroke. It's all in one stroke. Y'all get that? Because they're going to show you other ways of doing it, where I'm going to show you where it's 2 strokes. Okay, right
'Cause
here
it
it's
could
one
make it
stroke.
plural or something. You know, it could think plural if you hit it in 2, right? Like 5 and then DZ. If you had it defined something else.
Or it could be like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why you have to be careful about whether it's past tense, ED, and you want it ED. I don't. I don't want it ED, and I don't want to get it confused with maybe it's going to be ED. No, it's not. So that's why I do it together. So I already know it's money. Does that make sense? See?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, right here, when they have this little slash, that means it's 2 strokes. When they have the hyphen, it's 1 stroke. When they have the slash, it's 2 strokes. Okay? So, when you do it like this, all they're telling you is all you have to define is dollars. That's it. So all you have to do is one time. You just have to do it one time. And it doesn't matter if you write $10. All you have to do is do the dollars one time and define it one time ever. As long as you write it correctly every time, you're good to go. Does that make sense? You know, so that's what they're telling you right there. Only dollars needs to be defined. You don't have to define the 5 in there. The 5 is already defined. It's a number. It already knows. It's already defined. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically you're saying we don't have to go through and do this for every single number. That's
No.
what you're saying. You just
Yeah.
5.
The numbers are already defined, and dollars is going to be defined one time. One time. Unless you do it the other way. So if you do it as 1 stroke, then you're going to have to do it a bunch of times. But if you do it like this, then all you have to do is define dollars one time. Sir? Yeah, I'll be honest with you, it's personal preference. I did it as 1 because it helps me. It helps me to know that it's money, you know, by doing it in 1 stroke. But you know, they could say $325, so it's 325D. $489, so 489D. So now I have to hit the 489 and then come back and be able to hit the D. Which sometimes I do it as dollars. Does that make sense? So sometimes I'll do it, if I have to stretch my finger, you know, because this is your D finger right here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Everybody with me right here? This is your D finger. So if I'm hitting 489, I don't want to hit 489, keep my finger here and then hit D again. You can. It's not that hard, but I just come back and hit dollars, D-L-A-R-S. So I kind of use both of them. So it's when it kind of conveniences me. Does that make sense?
I do have a question.
Imagine that.
Okay, so DLARS, that's the definition of like that'll throw the dollar sign in the front. So how,
When it's with the number.
only when it's with a number?
Only with the number.
Oh, okay. So if you wrote DLARS, just like how many dollars,
How did you get paid, dog? Oh man, I got paid in dollars.
then it would just okay. Oh,
Dollars.
Translated as dollars.
So it's just going to be D-O-L-L-A-R-S. So it's not going to put a money sign in front of it. I got paid in dollars, and paid has a little money sign in front of it. No.
So when you global it, you would just write DOLLARS, and
Yes.
that's it. You wouldn't put any little squiggly brackets around it. Okay.
No. That's all you have to do is define it as,
DOLLARS.
yeah.
Okay.
Where is it?
Right up there under remove entry.
Yeah.
Huh?
Only
Dollars?
dollars needs to be defined as DOLLARS, and it'll automatically work both ways, right?
Yeah, but they don't have it up there.
It's the zip code.
Maybe it's further down.
Does it need to be in the brackets?
No, it doesn't need to be in the brackets. So when it's with money, it already knows. Okay? So the same thing with cents. Okay? And I do my cents like that too. I do it like 10S. Okay? So if you do it like that, then you're going to have a bunch of entries again in your dictionary. So be careful. Okay? So if you do it like this, it's 2 strokes. You're only going to have to define it once. All you have to do is define it once. That's it. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't the S supposed to be KR?
I'm sorry?
On the the C is the KR, isn't it, on the left hand, not S?
Is it we completely separate?
Well,
That'd be
it all
SES.
depends, because if they say, well,
Because you do SENS, probably, right? You thinking sense? That's how they use it.
KR
Yeah.
is the letter C.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not
is
much
the letter
different
C.
too.
So it all depends on how you want to do it. When would you use sense?
SENSE, but that wouldn't,
No,
or if you sent somebody, but
sense.
SENT.
He sense him.
but it's not plural, so.
He'd be sensing him.
You don't
long way.
pluralize it.
Or if he doesn't
I mean,
make
and it's not
sense.
really a word. Sense isn't a word. You know, SENTS.
SENT is a verb, so you
Yeah.
couldn't, you don't,
It's
I
not.
don't
It's
think
not
it
a
would
plural.
be a conflict because the other sense is like, you know,
Yeah.
SENS.
So that's why they're showing it as one stroke when it's SENTS. It's not SENT come back S. So if you do it as two strokes, which sense isn't a word. Sense. SENTS.
Yeah, it's not, because without the
Yeah,
T, it's a verb, and you don't have
Yeah.
yeah,
plural verbs that I know
Oh,
of.
you do. But-
sent. Yeah, but you don't say, I sent him to the store.
Yeah.
I sent him to the store.
Because they have tenses, but.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't.
He runs. So
Well,
you
that's
do.
a tense, that's not a plural. I don't know, never
It's-
mind.
I
But
don't
it's
have,
still,
I don't
it's,
have
Yeah.
it's still the S.
Yeah, you'd add it,
It's
yes,
still the
right.
S. So it's still a tense, but it's yes.
It's got an S at the end.
Yeah. So that's why they're doing it as one stroke. You can do it as Krentz, which is KR, which is what? C.
see,
C, so K, you know, and that's how they taught us in school, was Krentz,
yeah.
okay? You can do it however you want, okay? But however you do it, stay consistent. Is that? So if you do, say you want to do sense, do it SNTS or SN. I don't really care how you do it. As long as you do it consistent and as long as you define it correct. Okay? This is the way that I do it. I do it in the one stroke. Okay? Works for me, may not work for you. It is what it is. So, I mean, but if you're going to do it like that, now you have to define it like this. So you're going to have a bunch of different entries for this. Whereas if you do it like this, two strokes, you only have to do it once. You only have to define cents one time.
So going back to the way dollars was,
Yeah.
if I put a number and then I define cents as cents, when I put it with the number, it'll come out with the sign of the cents. If I put 10, you know what I mean?
Well, if it was $10.03, and you do $10.03, it's just going to put the .03. It should do it. Okay? Huh?
So I'm gonna have to play with that this weekend.
Well, and you know, this is telling you, like I said, this is giving you the brief overview of what we need to get into. We're going to get into it later on, which, you know, if you've gone into these things, and I'll show you right now. If you looked at the lesson players, it says class, and then it says more. The more is the in-depth version. So they have an in-depth, bless you, they have an in-depth version of everything that we've gone over, okay? So the things that we've gone over just up to now is just kind of the generic telling you how to do it. This is how you do it, this is what it's supposed to do, and if you do it right, this is how it's gonna work. When we get into the more, that's when we start getting into bringing your machines, doing it on the machine. Now you're really gonna see what it's doing. Make sense? So don't worry too much about it right now. If you want to mess with this stuff on the weekend, help yourself. Where you can try to see if you can figure it out. You know, if you're having trouble, you can always text me. call me, email me, and I'll call you back.
If you knock on his door.
Yeah. And if you wish real hard. Yeah. You know, but I'm pretty good about, you know, if you text me, I'll text you back. But I mean, a lot of times what you can do is call support, you know, on the weekends or whatever, and say, hey, look, you know, I'm messing around with this thing. What am I doing wrong? You know, these guys will really walk you through it.
You can call support on weekends as a student.
You can?
No, you're only allowed as a student Monday through Friday till 9.
Yeah.
So you don't ever, yeah, so you don't ever have to practice on the weekends. That's great. What? Trust me, if you're having problems with it, call me, and I'll call them. I can call them anytime. Ours is 24 hours, 365. So I mean, we can call them anytime, and they'll call us back. I don't know why they don't do that for the student. Well,
We haven't paid.
yeah, I probably do.
Because we haven't paid money.
We haven't paid.
Yeah, because I probably have 8 billion questions on stuff that we've already gone over. Okay, so like on 100, all you need to do is define 100. So when they say 100, you can do the 100, you can do the 10 and then 0, and it'll put 100. Or you can do the 100. And as long as you define it right, so however you do 100, define it like that. Do y'all do 100 as HUN? Okay. So however you do it, you know, and they say, well, how many were there? Several hundred. Okay. Several hundred. And that's how you do it. So it's going to be 2 strokes. You don't define it as 1 stroke. Does that make sense? It's 2 different strokes that can stand alone. So you never define them as 1 stroke. Does that make sense? And I'm going to teach you some of that stuff when we get into like the prefixes and suffixes or whatever, and not putting them together. You don't have to put them together as long as you hit them correctly. And that'll make sense more when we get to it. So there's other ways of doing shorter strokes for the same thing. Okay? So now they're going to say, well, how much was it? It was $100. Okay. Well, how are you going to do it? You can do it $100. Did y'all get that? $100. 3 strokes. Or you can do 1 HUNDZ. Okay? And all you have to do is define HUNDZ as $100. Don't define the 1.
So we
Exactly.
put the 1 in front of,
Huh?
we put the 1 in front of the 100.
Yeah,
Okay.
do that.
Yeah.
And when you text me on the weekend about the numbers and I don't text you back, call Katie. She'll walk you through it. Same thing with 1,000. Okay? Y'all got the thing about the $100, right?
Yeah.
Anybody like it?
I like
It's
it.
actually pretty cool. It's good. It's 1 stroke. It's good. Okay? So if you want to do it, start practicing now. Because when you hear it in a test, you're going to be, oh, that's HUND. And 16 words have gone by because you properly stroked $100.
Eat it when that happens.
Let me know how that works out. You miss 64 instead of 6.
Same thing, like HUNDZ, THOUDZ, $1,000, $1 million.
And they're going to show you. Yeah. But thanks for getting ahead. But, but yeah, it is. It is. It's the same thing. And they're going to show you. And My lovely assistant just asked, do they have it for $1,000, $1 million? Okay, so. Okay, so they say 25,000. What do you need to define? Is that it?
Yes.
Yes, just 1,000.
Just 1,000. Very good. That's all you need to define. Nothing with the 25. Okay? So it's the same thing for $1,000. THOUDZ. Okay? Write these down if you like them. If not, then it's just dollars. Got it? Same thing with million. Figure out a way how you're going to do it. Because one is like a mill, and the other one is million. So figure out how you're going to do it, practice it, so when it comes up, you know how to do it. Same thing with $1 million. Okay? The MLDZ, pretty good. It's good if you like it. If you don't, then just write mil dollars, mil dollars. Okay? But if you like it, it's milds, MLDZ. Got it?
Can we do the same with billion?
No, that one's different. So they're showing you right here, $1 million, one MLDZ. Okay? So what needs to be defined?
Mil dizzy.
Million.
$1 million, that's it. Don't do anything with the one. Does everyone get that?
Yep.
Yeah.
You in the, oh, imagine that. You in the back.
But that only works for like general numbers, right? Like, when they're just using like $300, not like $245, right? Like, would it work with other numbers instead of just like one general number?
Yeah, it is. It's only going to work with general numbers.
But then like, in Florida stuff, I feel like nobody would use just one general number.
What's that?
Like, if say like the set of them was like 1,102, then you can't use this rate, right?
So just write what you hear. 345 dollars, 45 cents, 45 cents. This you're not going to be able to use if they say, because they don't say $1 million, $473, $109.04.
That's what I'm saying, so like, is it having to be here often? Like, where it's just like this general?
Yeah. Yeah. What'd you win? Won $1 million. So it happens. It happens. So I mean, you have a way to do it. Okay? That's why you have to know how to do it both ways. So this way when it comes up, well, what was it? That was $400. Well, do you want to do it in 3 strokes? When you can do it in 2 strokes? Still means the same thing. Still going to come out the same way. But if they say, well, how much did you win? Well, I won $425. You can't write it the same way. Does that make sense? Okay.
If you use that new brief, then it would be $4,500, right? Like that's how it would come out.
I think it would come out the
So
dollar
you got
sign
$300
400.
million.
It might come out in cents if you do it 4 HUNDZ and then $25. I don't know how you're gonna do it. Yeah.
So when
So you almost have to write it the way that you hear it.
like 425
Yeah.
and then DZ for dollars.
Or would you make like a macro to do it for you?
Or you could do DLARS, but if you use.
I don't know. We'll
DZ
have to mess with it a little bit. We'll mess with it when we start bringing our machines. Write that down because you might be able to do it like 425 HUNDZ. I've never done it that way, but it might work. So we'll have to try it. Or try it this weekend. Let me know how it works out.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, me too. All right, enough. So let me know how it works out if y'all do it. So you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So write the 425 and then HUNDZ. And if it works, then do it with the MLDZ. Okay, so here's where they're talking about the point as a decimal. Well, how much heroin did he have on him? Well, he had 0.5 on him. So you're going to write that 0.5 or point. So figure out a way. And it needs to be defined like that. So however you're going to do it, figure it out now. Don't wait till a test. Okay? And everyone knows how to put that entry into your dictionary, right?
Probably.
Well, there's an easy way. So like if you know right now, you know what, I'm going to use point. I know I'm going to use that. And I'm going to start practicing it tonight. Tonight. Okay? And you know you're going to do it right now. How do you put an entry into your dictionary right now?
Go into your dictionary.
Well, there's an easier way.
You can global it.
Control D. Do it. So if you do Control D, it brings up this little thing. So you already know I'm going to use point. Well, you know what? I hear it point, and that's how I hear it. Well, it's 0.3. So I use it with the asterisk. Okay? That's how I do it. You don't have to do it that way. All right? You do it however you want. You can do it PNT. I don't know. I mean, as long as it's not a brief or something, as long as it's not going to conflict with something, you do it however you want. Okay? But it needs to be defined. Pay attention, guys. It needs to be defined like this. Decimal. All caps. Brackets. Got it? If you define it as point, P-O-I-N-T, guess what? It's coming out point. So if you don't do it correct, it's not going to come out. All right? So this is the way you have to do it. Everyone got that? And do you want it in your main?
Yes.
Yes, you do. Okay, so now they're going to talk about time. I do my times with asterisk 2. So if you do it as AM, it's going to conflict with AM. Okay? So you have to find a different way to do it. Okay? I do it with the asterisk. Now, PM, doesn't conflict with anything, and I don't really want to confuse you, so I'm not. So I'm going to tell you guys to do it that way. Stay consistent. Okay? I don't, because I was using PM, P star M as a different. I was using it as permanent managing, because we hear permanent managing conservator all the time in the court that I used to sit in. So mine was P star M, was permanent managing conservator. So I mean, that helped me a lot. But I mean, I could have used just PM as that, and it would have done the same thing. Okay, I'm telling you, stay consistent, because it's easier that way to remember. My brain works a little bit different, so I just remember. I remember what I'm doing. If you can remember what you're doing, you do whatever you want. Stay consistent though on time, on what you're doing for AM, stuff like that, okay? And it needs to be defined as A period, M period. Now, if you're gonna write it the same, then you need to create a conflict. I don't suggest you do that. But if you want to, you can. Whatever you want to do. Same thing with PM. All it needs to be defined as P period, M period. Okay, so now they have clocks. So you can do 1 o'clock is 1K, 2K, 3K, 4K. Well, guess what? Now you have to define it every time. Every time you have to define it. Okay? I don't do it that way. Mine is KOK for clock. Okay? Because KLOK is what?
Clock.
Clock.
Or with the asterisk, it's o'clock.
Or that. Stay with me. KLOK is what?
Clock.
Clock. Or my lovely assistant said, throw in the asterisk, you can do all kinds of stuff. But if you're gonna do it, stay consistent. Okay? Easy, consistent. Got it? So if you're gonna do it with the K's, then you have 12 entries in your dictionary. Okay? So do it however you want. Or you can do it like this. Clock without the asterisk is what? Clock. K-L-O-C-K. I mean C-L-O-C-K. C-L-O-C-K. So it's just like a clock, you know? So that's going to be your word, clock. This is not. So once you define it as something else and you put the entry in, now it's something else. Okay, now it's o'clock. Okay, and you need to define it as o'clock. So they say, you know, 1 o'clock, and that's what I do. I do 1 KOK, 2 KOK, and all you have to do is define it one time. You just define it one time. That's all you have to do. Okay? But mine knows mine is different because I don't do it with the 1. I write my words out. Does that make sense? Because I use the word. I don't use the 9:00 o'clock. Because the way that I was taught means 7 o'clock, o'clock. Okay? I was taught that that was wrong. And to this day, I still, it doesn't look right to me. That does not look right to me. Does that look right to anybody?
No.
Does it? I mean, it's too much. It's too much. Okay? So whether you want to do it like that, whatever. I I mean, this looks better to me than that, but, and I've seen it like that. Although I've seen it like that too, and then, yeah. So, just stay consistent, however you want to do it. Okay. So this is the breed for miles an hour. Is MIRS, MERS, miles an hour. Okay? Because I think it's MERPS. MIRPS is miles per hour. Yeah, MERPS. MIRPS is miles per hour. This is miles an hour. Well, how fast was he going? 65 miles an hour. But you have to pay attention to what they're saying too. How fast was he going? He was going 65 miles per hour. Okay? So MERPS, MERS, miles an hour. Miles is just miles. Pound, you know, if you go to, who even has that? Ireland has pounds.
England says
Yeah.
pound sterling.
So, you know, if you go take some depots in England, and they're talking about pounds. Huh?
That would be cool.
Trust me, I mean it's not far-fetched. I've been to Mexico. Never been to the motherland. But so all you have to do is define pound. Okay? Unless you're going to use it as one stroke. So they say, well, and you're in England and all they're talking about is all this money and it's pounds and blah blah blah, and you're like, man, I'm just going to do it as one stroke, 25p or 35p or 38p. You know, for pound. Now,
You work in the valley concept of different meaning.
yes, totally, totally. It's not. It
Is it
converts
drugs?
to money eventually, but yeah. So, same thing with hyphen, HF. You can do it however you want. I mean,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so 25 pound, that's hyphenated. It would, I guess you'd have to do pound, so it would not be hyphenated, right? POUNDZ, correct? Because sometimes you say, how many pounds was that? I was 25 pounds, and that would not be hyphenated. But this is used as an adjective, 25 pound note or something, or right?
yeah.
So does it automatically just put the hyphen in there?
I don't know. I don't even know that it makes a difference. 25 pounds.
Does
The
if it's
hyphen.
an
I've
adjective?
never seen it with a hyphen anyway.
Well, if it was followed by a noun, like a 25-pound kid, a 25-pound child, it would be hyphenated, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Not necessarily. No.
It's an adjective.
It's an adjective, so I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know that I've ever seen it
It's like
hyphenated. 25 pounds.
16-year-old boy,
Yeah.
or, you know, those are hyphenated as well.
Yeah, I guess it would be.
Sometimes you see it just written LBS, period, for 25 pounds, you know, 25.
But that's the weight, that's.
That's the
That's like
weight.
the
Yeah.
weight, you know, like if you're talking about the boy or the girl,
Yeah.
25 pounds,
But here they're talking about money.
money.
Yeah.
They're not talking about. So I guess you would have to do 25 hyphen pound. And that would put the hyphen.
Ew.
Yeah. Trust me. Yeah. Guys, I'm teaching you how to do these things, but sometimes it's going so fast you don't have time to do it. You're not. And at 225 words a minute, when you're taking that state test and they're talking about a 25-pound kid, and you have time to do 25 hyphen pound, yeah, you're going to be working the next day. Trust me. Yeah. You should have been taking that test a long time ago. If you had time to do that at 225, you're going to be a merit rider. You ought to take your merit test probably that same day. Okay? Oh, yeah. It's probably about 3 something. We're not going to get into that, though. You know, when I was going to school, they told me in order to compensate for nerves, you should be riding 240. Pretty clean, 240, you know. But I was that guy that passed my second mock about 2 weeks before the deadline of going to take that test. And it would have taken, there wouldn't have been a raging bull that would have kept me from going to that test. I was going. And I think what kind of helped me was, and I don't want to discourage y'all, whatever, but they say the average person will take it 3 times. It's the absolute hardest thing you'll take ever. It's hard. You know, so you need to be on your game. But I went up there with the attitude, you know what? I'm not going to pass it anyway, but I'm going to go see what it's about. I'm going to get a feel for the room, see what it is, what I need to work on, come back, and I'm just going to give it what I got. I think I made 300s. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But I did well. I did, you know, and all you have to pass it at is 95%. That's it. Just 95. Not 96, I care. Just 95% at 225, 200, and 180.
Did you just take your written test once?
Yeah. Okay, come on. Silly questions. I like that though. Yeah, I did. I just, but we studied like mad, you know, so, but it doesn't make you any less of a reporter if it takes you 2 times, 3 times. And whenever,
It doesn't make you a reporter yet.
well, there's that. And remind me whenever we go off, I'll tell you a story of a friend that took the test. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So hyphen, okay, I guess this is for putting numbers together. So God, this just seems like a lot. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, if you have the time to write a hyphen, wow, that's pretty good. Even now, I don't worry about it that much. But I'm going to show you how to do it. So you're going to know how to do it. So if you're on top of it that day and you're doing it, do it. But if you don't, it's not that big of a deal to go back and edit it real easy. Okay? So this is the way that they show that you're supposed to do it. So if you use it with numbers, this is the way it's supposed to be defined. So pay attention to this, because this is a little in-depth, a little complicated right here. So you have to do the bracket, the pound sign, which tells it there's a number coming, capital N, which tells it to put a number. N is for a numeral. Number, numeral. Close bracket, bracket, hyphen, close bracket, bracket, pound, numeral, bracket. Holy cow. Okay? But that's how you have to do it. To tell it that there's a number that needs to put the number together with the hyphen. Okay?
So I have a question. So you have hyphen defined right now as a hyphen.
Mm-hmm.
So like whenever you're writing different things and, you know, it's just a hyphen.
Yeah.
Okay. But then I go in and I define it as this. Then it will decipher,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
When it's with numbers.
Right. When it's with numbers.
When it's with words, it's different.
Right.
Okay? So if you just do this, I think what it's telling you is that it's going to be with words.
Yes.
So
Or
if
that's
you just
what it
do
does
the
with
bracket, hyphen, bracket, it's just with words. The 2 on the outside with the pound sign in the end tell it that there's numbers. Then it's putting numbers together. That's what it's telling you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
As opposed to the other? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone not get it? Everyone gets it?
Yeah.
Wow.
You're a good teacher.
I know.
How often do you actually put in a sentence in the real world?
How many times it what?
How often do you actually use this in the real world?
And I'll be honest with you, I don't even use it that. I don't use the hyphen. I don't. I mean, it's easier for me to go back and edit it. But I'm going to show you how to do it. You're going to know how to do it. I know how to do it. But I don't, it doesn't really matter to me. Now, if they say it, you know, well, it was 36-48-52. Well, no one ever really talks like that or whatever, but, you
They
know.
usually say dash or
Yeah.
yeah, so you'd have to.
Or dash. So it's the same thing. Hyphen, dash, it's the same thing.
What would you, if they said 4-5 and you wrote dash, wouldn't it put 2 dashes in there, or?
Well, you have to know what
You'd
they're
have to
talking
define it
about.
with
So
the
you have to
numbers
know
in
hyphen, kind of like point equals decimal. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got it.
So, guys, you got to be on your game a little bit.
'Cause they
So
could
if
be
you're going to
talking
do
about
it,
50-yard dash or something.
yeah.
Then that'd be DAS.
Yeah.
And that's also a good point right there. You know, so if they say, well, you know, it was 50-1 on the 50-yard dash. I mean, you know, that's made up, but I mean, you know, I'm giving you an example of how to use both of them in the same sentence. You know, and they're going to talk about that later when they say, you know, we had a table and he was at table 12. Well, one of them is a specific table, so it should be capitalized. Does that make sense?
So would you create a conflict for those two? Is
And
that
it's
what
gonna
you
show
do, and
you-
it would automatically
And
learn?
it's going to show you how
Okay.
to create a conflict for it. Or it's going to show you that when you use table with a number, it's automatically going to know it's capitalized.
So you could do the same with the dash. You could do the conflict, and it would learn. Like because if you said, if they were giving you like a number of some
I
report,
would write dash different.
but
As opposed to like a 50-yard dash, I would write it different than say 50-1.
sometimes though, like when you're doing Q&A though, and they're doing, you know, interrupting, you write dash.
That's
or
different.
You would have to
My
define.
those are
You do that- you do the-
dashes. Those are dashes, not a dash. Okay? So it's not
Okay.
this. It's 2 of those. 2 of those means an interruption, not one.
And you do those with your thumbs, right?
I do it with my thumbs.
Okay.
This is with the vowels. Those with both of them is my dash. Well, did you go? You know what? Strike that. He just had a totally different thought. Stop mid-sentence, had a totally different thought. Did you go to the dashes? Strike that. I'll ask another question. Y'all see what I'm talking about? And I'm going to show you how to do that too. Okay, so you're going to know how to do it. So however you do it is fine. I don't know that I'd write it hyphen. That's totally different. So it's going to be dashes, not dash, when there's an interruption in a sentence. Got it?
So you could still define D final RB as like a hyphen for the numbers, for example, because a lot of times when people don't say hyphen when they're giving like numbers. They don't say 543 dash. They say 543 dash. They don't say 543 hyphen. They say 543 dash 67.
Yeah.
So
So it doesn't really matter what you define it as or what you hear it as. And most of the time it's not going to be hyphen. They're not going to say hyphen. But you can define hyphen and dash as the same thing, which is that. And it's going to be the same thing. Okay? Same thing with the slash. So like on a number, you know where they say it was 48 slash 52 slash 31. On the dates, you don't have to worry about the dates. I'm going to show you how to do the date. Okay? But this is when you have numbers and they say slash. You have to define it like this. So it's this whole drawn out thing right here. So if you stay consistent and you write it the same way every time, I wouldn't write it with the A unless you're going to use it with the asterisk, because they could just say, you know, man, that guy got slashed. He took a slash to the stomach. which could also mean a cut, okay? So be careful with that, about slash, okay? So I would write it differently. And if you're gonna write it, then that's the way you need to write it. That's the way you need to define it, is with the bracket, pound sign, and for the numeral, and that's what it tells it. It's two numbers putting it together with the slash. Everybody get that? All right.
So would you have to define like and or, because you use the slash in like letters too, it wouldn't come out. You'd have to just define and or with a slash, right? Or in it, a brief for it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that's defined for numbers, but sometimes you use those for letters. That's why I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm just making things harder, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is today your last day? You're coming back again. I'm just kidding. No, you know what, guys? And that's the only way we're going to figure it out is if you ask questions. You know, and that's why I always ask you, do you have questions? And don't be embarrassed about asking questions, okay? Because if you're thinking it, somebody else is probably thinking it too, okay? Am I going to give you a hard time?
Yep.
Probably. I'd say most
There would
definitely.
be something wrong with you if you didn't give.
Yes, then you need to start checking temperature and pulse. Okay? All right. So now they're talking about first, which is an ordinal. I would write it different than I would first. F-I-R-S-T. Okay? So one S-T. The way that I was taught to do it was with the E. That's the way we learned it in school. 1E, 2E, 3E, 4E, 5E is first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Okay?
So define each one.
So you have to define each one if you use it in the same stroke with a command. And that's what you're doing, is using it as a command to tell it that it's an ordinal. Okay? Yes?
Yeah.
All right.
How many times though, like, how many times do you write ordinals? You know, I mean, do you use it a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
You do, because really, I mean, when you write dates, it's almost always. A lot of times, I'd say more times than not.
Or like
You
May
know?
21st. Okay.
So if they said May 1st.
It was on the 5th of May. You know, we went, and you know, so you really have to know how to do it. Yeah.
Okay. So if they said May 1st, 2018, you would write first?
I write May 1E 2018,
Which E would put in the ST.
which E tells it it's an ordinal.
Okay.
Yeah. But let's just say you didn't have time, or you forgot, or you didn't hear it. And it's like, yeah, they did say first, okay? But you wrote May 1, 2018. You're not gonna have to worry, because over here in your Auto Magic, it's already gonna tell you, is it just $1, first, all of that stuff. Okay, so it's gonna do it for you. It really is. And there's a way to do it on your hyper keys too, which is
Oh, see. What are you talking about? To start?
how to get to your
I'll see.
ordinals.
Oh,
I may not know it.
oh, it's the I think it's
It's Shift N. Shift N. So are all of you guys, are all of y'all right here?
Yeah.
Is everyone right here?
Yeah.
Okay, come right here to 1. So come right here. Somebody's gonna fail this class.
Where is it? What page is it on? And I can just go to it.
I think it's 10. It's 10.
It's not enough to knock it off.
Okay, so everybody's right here?
Yeah.
There we go.
Make sure you're in hyperkeys, which is what? Alt Z. Get on the number 1 and then do Shift N. And see how it tells you right here? You can do any of these things right here. You can do it in a quantity, generic, subscript, ordinal numerals, ordinal written out. So let's just say we wanted ordinal written out. See how it changed it? Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
Now push Z 2 times. See how I put it back? So you can go in there and do all of this stuff. What?
Learning a lot.
That's what I thought.
I know.
That's what I thought.
Shift and, yep. Oh.
Oh.
What does O give you, Tracy? Ordinal numbers written down. Yeah.
Huh?
She said.
Do what?
Don't get ahead of them.
And then how do you,
Slow down, guys.
Do what?
how do you make it go back to the first?
What's the oops key?
Twice.
Z.
Z.
Or not.
Not Alt Z.
Okay.
Did I say Alt Z?
Just
No.
Just Z.
twice.
Got it?
Got it.
All right. So when they